can be assisted, because we have now started streaming live. So we'll just give 2 minutes to get feedback on one of our presenters. And he is the first to present on the program. So that is why we are checking on him before we can start.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I have followed up and I believe that he will be connecting in the next minute or so. I think he's struggling slightly, but he should be in.
Okay, so maybe let's give him 2 minutes. There's somebody connecting. I guess it is him.
Yes, please. Let's give him some time. Thanks, Madam.
Okay, I see there's Linda. Linda, good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thanks. You are most welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are just waiting for Mr. Baloyi.
Speaker.
Talk.
Yeah, there is somebody who's still in the waiting room. It's Snyder Vladimir. Do you know that name?
Sipo?
Snyder Vladimir.
Yes, Madam Speaker, he's the PPI Provisional Secretary.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. You see, now we need to be careful because of hacking issues, you know?
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, Snyder.
Afternoon, Speaker.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The chairperson of the PPF will join us in a moment.
Yes, we were told that he's about to join in. We will have to start at 5 past. We are 1 minute.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Bukang, I see Bukang. Bukang.
Join. I had it right. So he says because disconnect. Let's see. Let's join and see. Let's join and see. Okay. 943 15 42 077 5. Yeah. And then the passcode. Because social advisor. Why?
Millicent, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Speaker. How are you?
Very well, thanks. You are most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Is Comrade Pat in now? I see everyone is in their cars.
He's not in, no, but can you check what's wrong with him?
I'm calling him now.
Okay.
Mr. Sasabona Manganye, good afternoon.
unable to connect internet. Can you use
We
this one?
can hear.
Oh yeah, bring the face in that direction. Okay, but
Remember, it's got a password. It's got a after you click on the join meeting, there should be a password. I mean, a passcode which has got numbers, which is 70 something something. So after that, it should prompt you to actually look for the to punch in that passcode. Or you want to use the laptop? You don't want to use. Okay, so also you want to be able to load it on your laptop. Can I have Comrade Sipo call you and then maybe try and help you? Oh, is Comrade Sipo there?
Yes, he's here.
Are you talking to him? Chair?
Haibo.
Maseko, are we winning?
Okay, let me speak to him. Doc, I was gonna suggest if you make me a co-host.
Okay, let me do that. Let me do that now.
Okay.
I've done it already.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we have a Natim Tetwa. I'm not sure which Natim Tetwa, so that if it's the minister, then I'm able to recognize him properly.
No, Madam
Is the
Speaker.
90 that you know that you work with?
No, Madam Speaker, it's not minister.
No, it's member from. Yes.
I was getting my voice ready to recognize the minister and acknowledge the presence. The presence of the minister.
I wouldn't mind, Madam Speaker. You can recognize me as such.
There's a laptop.
There's a Lenovo. There's a Lenovo in the waiting room.
I've just accepted. Right.
Okay, I see Mr. Pet Baloy. I can see him there. He is the Lenovo. Can you please, Doc, if you can just name him properly? It's Pet Baloy. Good afternoon, Lenovo. Hi, Pet. Welcome.
Where's the Lenovo?
Thank you.
The Lenovo one, Doc. It's Pet Baloy.
Yes, I can't see it.
Lenovo.
I'm looking for it. I think he went out again somehow.
No, he's still there. Pet, can you speak? Oh yes, that's it. Pet Baloy. It's
yes,
fine.
Yes. I can see all of you.
Oh,
okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. May I request Tumelo Faith to mute? We are 10 minutes behind the starting time. It's okay, we do understand, Brapet, it's a new normal. So I have, today I have realized that at least I'm more advanced than the professionals in the new normal. So now these Bambe professionals. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to all the panelists. Maybe before I outline the program of the day, let me indicate to all of us that we are streaming live on different platforms, on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter. So this show is streaming live every Wednesday from 4 o'clock. It is live. So we apologize to our viewers for starting 10 minutes after the scheduled time. we are always on time, but because you know the new normal sometimes can disappoint. So the program for this session will be as follows. 1, it will be opening and welcome, which will be done by the speaker. And 2, we will have the effects of COVID-19 on professionals, which will be given by Mr. Pet Baloyi, who is the chairperson of the PPF in Greater Johannesburg. And we shall then have discussions. And after the discussion, we'll then have brief overview, which will be the section 2, which will be the brief overview of the City of Johannesburg annual report, which will be given by the chairperson of MPEC Oversight Committee, Councillor Thandi Nontenja. We'll then have towards the professionalization of the public service, which will be done by Councillor Matsidiso Mfikwe, who is the chairperson of the Service Delivery Section 79 Oversight Committee in Johannesburg, who is also the DSG, Deputy Secretary General of the PPF. And then we'll have discussions, and closure will be done by Dr. Fundi. So that is our agenda for today. We don't normally ask for the adoption of the agenda in this session. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to another packed installment of our civic education program. This is a civic education program which is done every Wednesday, as I have said, by the Speaker of Council in collaboration or in partnership with Dr. Fundile Nyati, who is also very passionate on civic education. So we have partnered with him on this program. But before we proceed, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my sadness on the news of the passing of our stalwart, Utata Andrew Mlangeni, which we woke up with this morning. Utata Mlangeni was bestowed with the Freeman of the City Award in 2016, which is the City of Johannesburg's highest civilian honor. We had honored him in 2016. He was the last remaining Rivonia trialist who fought tirelessly for the freedom of our country. He is actually one of the stalwarts who have made us to be where we are today, as we call ourselves a democratic society. I send my sincerest condolences to the Mlangeni family and all South Africans. And at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, I kindly request that we observe a moment of silence for our struggle icon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Rest in peace, Tatu Mlangeni, uqatso ulufezile. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are having a conversation with Progressive Professional Forum, called PPF acronym. We are very excited to have them on the show because our conversation is long overdue. And the issues that they have wanted to raise, I believe, might even piled up by now. If Upra is incorrect, but I think they have piled up. Therefore, we will tackle a range of issues that are inextricably linked. So we have separated the show, as I said, into 2 segments. In the first segment, we'll hear from the professionals themselves on the challenges that they have been faced with during this lockdown period and what measures can be put in place to address these challenges. In the second segment, we look at the issues faced by municipalities in terms of capacity of skills. We will look at some of the issues raised in the city's annual report, which touches on this particular problem as it affects the audit outcome. If you look at the Auditor's General report as well on the state of municipalities, the AG always comes back to one thing, that is the skills are misplaced. This means that we don't have the right people with the right skills at the right place, or qualifications in various levels of government, which is what gives rise to the concern around competency levels and ultimately affects how service delivery is delivered, or how services are delivered. We then tie it all together by looking at the question of how we address the issue of skills mismatch and how we can align with professionals to capacitate government to deliver effective services. This element of the discussion looks at the importance of attracting broader range of skill sets, especially those that are highly specialized to assist government in its implementation. I must hasten to say that this is multifaceted discussion that may need more than one session, as 1 hour on our show may not be sufficient to cover all the key aspects, as we have allocated 1 hour for this session. However, we must start bringing about these discussions. Nonetheless, we can't avoid them. So let's go straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. And my guests today are Patrick Baloyi, as I have already said, the chairperson of the Progressive Professional Forum, who is a social activist with a background in the world of academy, having taught both at universities of Wits and Manchester, in Manchester City in the UK. What is very interesting is that Mr. Baloyi is the speech and ghostwriter for the now late stalwart and liberation struggle hero Utata Umlangeni. We have seen him on his profile, ehleli naye Utata Umlangeni. Welcome, Tate Baloyi, and condolences on such a great loss. I know we have lost, but I think for you it's even worse. You have been part of the family. May you draw on his great wisdom and be comforted in knowing that he ran his race and ran it well. And that is how
The usual thing. Sipo, please advise.
I'll just double check with Madam just to let her know that she's offline.
And Savagat.
You're back.
Okay, you're back now, Madam.
We lost you for about 30 seconds.
I'm very sorry. I was introducing Councillor Mpikwe, who is the chairperson of EISD, as well as the Deputy Secretary General of the PPF. Were you there when I was, did you hear me when I was introducing Mr. Pat Baloyi?
Yes,
I'm not sure. Oh, okay, all right. I'm also joined by Councillor. I'm also joined by Councillor Thandi Nontenja, who is the chairperson of the Municipal Public Accounts Committee, which is called MPEC. Who?
Oh man, I don't know what's wrong with.
No.
Can you hear me?
You are back. You were gone again.
Oh no, it's okay. Hello, yeah. So I was saying that Councillor Nontenja is the chairperson for MPEC. This is the committee that has the delegated responsibility in the city to consider annual report, and it is tasked with drafting the oversight report on the annual report. Welcome, Councillor Nontenja, and welcome to all our guests, and most welcome to our partner, Dr. Fundile Nyati. As I've already said, that he's very passionate about civic education. You are most welcome. In fact, you are no longer a guest. You are not a guest on this show. Without waste of time, I will swiftly hand over to Mr. Pat Baloyi to share with us some of the challenges that have been facing the professionals body under the pandemic. Over to you, Mr. Baloyi.
Thanks very much, Speaker of Johannesburg, Atlas African City of the future, a vibrant, equitable African city, strengthened with diversity, a city that provides real quality of life, a city that provides sustainability for all its citizens, a resilient and adaptive society. This is taken from GDS 2040. I salute you, Comrade Nongabo Mlwele, the Speaker. I want to salute Comrade Sidim Fikwe, the Chairperson of Section 79 Committee on EISD. She is my National Deputy Secretary of PPF. I salute the anchors of the program, Dr. Fundile Nyati and Mr. Sipo Masiho. We as the PPF, we pride ourselves as the vision, as our vision to be the think tank and resource base of South Africa. And that is our ultimate goal. Well, let me also salute the PS of PPF, Comrade Sasa Mangani. Let me salute Comrade Stan. It's a saying NEC member and a Comrade Natim Tetwa as well. Let me explain to everybody who PPF is, so that we are actually on the same wavelength when we discuss these issues of professionals and how COVID has actually affected them. South Africa and Africa in general constitute of the critical human capital, which is key in the realization of the national democratic society. And that is the professionals, intelligentsia, academia, and entrepreneurs. This is a very important stratum of the society, and it renders the wide range of competencies, skills, knowledge, values, and fostering a culture of searching for the new and better ways of doing things, using different platforms the country and Africa requires towards the realization of the strategic goal. This stratum has, since the dawn of democracy in South Africa, grown considerably in stature and size due to the deliberate and thought out progressive transformational policies and opportunities as championed by the government of Utata Madiba and subsequent government leaders. Considering investments the democratic government made into this stratum of the society, there is then a need ever prevails for this stratum to inculcate to its future generation a plowback culture, to promote the values of patriotism within and outside of different professions. The Progressive Professionals Forum, it's a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and non-xenophobic organization that actually subscribes to the values of the Freedom Charter and the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The PPF defines its constituent membership in this way. We are the professionals, intelligentsia, academia, and entrepreneurs who are patriotic individuals and are specialists in their respective professional and trade space. These are also the patriotic citizens who individually and collectively vow to influence positively and progressively the professional trade space and as the members find themselves while offering these services. PPF is the overarching organization for all professional organizations. And PPF seeks to rekindle the patriotic conscience of any progressive professional in South Africa. PPF is recognized by the African National Congress as a progressive force because of our alignment with the strategic objective of the ANC that is enshrined in our Freedom Charter. Why do we think as PPF it's important to enter into this partnership with government? We've got to understand that South Africa faces many challenges. We come from a divided past where different groups had very different levels of service from government. We have a very high rate of unemployment, and almost half of our people live in dire poverty. Inequality is the norm. To develop our nation to its full potential, government needs clear goals and strong programs. And of course, those programs cannot actually drive themselves. You need skilled human capital to drive that. At a very simple level, we can describe government as the way society organizes itself so that people can live together peacefully and collectively share the resources which are there in our country, such as roads, schools, clinics, healthcare, and all these services, we call them public goods. But without a conscious professional bodies entering into some kind of partnership with government, these things cannot be attained. We understand that South Africa is a constitutional democracy, which binds all of us to its conditions. One, the preamble commits us to a united and democratic South Africa based on the values of justice and human rights. The Chapter 1 spells out the role of the Constitution, the values of non-racialism and non-sexism, the rule of law, and the right of all citizens to vote in regular democratic elections. We understand that, okay, there are lots of things that we have here, but because of time, let us move straight to the effects of COVID-19 and how we see ourselves as professionals playing our part in partnership with government. The world is currently struggling to control a global public health pandemic called COVID-19 that is spreading very fast with diverse levels of fatalities in different regions and countries. It started in Wuhan, China in the late 2019. It has become a global epidemic within a very short space of time. At the moment, Europe, especially Italy, Spain, and the UK and France, are now the epicenters in terms of death. These have been hardest hit in terms of infections and fatalities, despite their more sophisticated health service delivery system. This raises a great concern for the African continent due to its relatively weak health systems compared to Europe and the global north, and the wide expanse of areas on the continent with no health services or systems in place. Several governance structures were quickly put in place to manage the spread of this disease, including an interministerial committee on COVID-19, an emergency operations center, and a national command council chaired by the president himself. As of April 16, 2020, South Africa has recorded 2,506 confirmed infections with 34 deaths and 410 recoveries. Restricting the movement of the people, practicing social distancing, and tracing all those who have been in contact with infected persons was applied globally, and it had appeared to be effective in controlling the spread of the disease. But let us look at the effects of this on the professionals. With the government predicting that up to 20% of the workforce could be off at the same time during the pandemic and a period of economic uncertainty expected to follow, we are likely to see a significant rise in claims against professionals stemming indirectly from the COVID-19 outbreak. We're now 4 months into the lockdown, that is level 3, which has sent many professionals move completely to home working. It is important to be mindful that these new working conditions will take many times a while to adapt to it, and if not done adequately, may affect the delivery of services and expose the business to preventable risks. Individuals working remotely together with flexible working hours to accommodate childcare arrangements could lead to poor communication with the organization and with clients. In addition to this staff absence due to illness, isolation could lead to available resources being allocated to unfamiliar matters. This is an unprecedented situation we find ourselves in. These changes to working arrangements may increase the amount of errors and in turn, potential negligence claims. Regulators and professional bodies have been quick to respond to crises and support businesses and professionals. South Africa should be concerned about two specific sectors. The first is the disruption of education. With skills shortages already a major challenge, any delays in the education year will delay qualifying skilled graduates and also exacerbate unemployment. There is a real possibility that a year in education could be lost. The second, of course, is tourism, which is very negatively affected. One of the unusual impacts of COVID-19 is the grounding and large-scale devastation of airline industry. All the professionals in that space found themselves lingering or languishing on the verge of starvation. Current travel bans are stopping many airlines from operating, but even if restrictions were lifted, valid infection concerns among travelers will limit leisure travel. At the same time, a global recession will reduce disposable income used for holidays and travel. Let us look at the consequences of the financial crisis and how we can actually mitigate as professionals. The consequences of this growing financial crisis are dire, and several cannot be avoided. One such threat is relegating South Africa's credit status to junk, which we have already seen it has occurred. The rand has also already taken a knock to some of its worst historical levels. South Africa's reputation as a preferred investment destination will definitely worsen. And it's very likely that several SOEs will default on their debt obligation. This will negatively affect their investment ratings, forcing the state to act as a debt guarantee. And when that happens, it means downgrades will add pressure to the fiscus, and the state will be forced to consider selling off SOEs and reduce its public wage bill. And what that means, it means you cut on the professionals. Mass retrenchments in the states are likely, and we have seen what is happening now with the SAA, and that will also hurt the already struggling sector. This will aggravate relationships with unions and dissent among political stakeholders. I don't want to go into private sector, but of course, private sector companies are also facing downgrades. These actions affect their liquidity and viability, leading to additional unemployment. South Africa's Gini coefficient will rise as social inequality grows. Despite the prospect of negative 10% growth, the state will have to accrue debt to soften these impacts. In particular, it will need funds to avoid the collapse of the financial sector. Bailouts and stimulus packages for long-term viability will be required. Short-term interventions are also necessary, but the only way out of this crisis is to play the long game. Whatever the cost, South Africa cannot afford the collapse of the financial sector. Let me skip the mining, the manufacturing, and then transport logistics, because we looked at the professionals per sector. And then let us look at education, and then we look at the municipality as the one that is at the rock face of service delivery. Millions of students are currently stuck in the academic year. This is particularly worrying for higher education students, where delays can incur heavy costs and social penalties. The academic year is disrupted already. Mitigations include fast-tracking online learning. The state must help rural communities establish the appropriate connectivity and access to devices. And it means there must be a massification of the training of people who work with the rural students to engage in the new norm using new technologies. Let's look at the municipalities. We know that with the Auditor General, the report that has come now was very bleak, to say the least. Nothing home to write about. Municipalities have found their already meager resources challenged by demands to meet the pandemic. This is a wake-up call to review municipal finances and address that concern urgently. Municipalities will need to engineer physical breathing room as they will work alongside the state to support citizens during this pandemic and its fallout. One mitigation which a person is proposing is suspending utility bills for a short period of time. And when we look at the telecommunication industry, it's arguably one of the least affected by the pandemic. Given that everybody is working from home most of the time, not everybody, most of the essential services are being conducted from home, such companies have benefited from social distancing and remote working. But this means these companies are also well positioned to make greater contribution towards undoing the damage of the pandemic. One positive action that a person would suggest would be to give all citizens free data, assist industry sectors in distress with modernization of their technology infrastructure. The National Treasury is under incredible pressure to mitigate the broader and long-term impact of the pandemic, as well as create short-term intervention to save the economy. Despite the protest against the idea, it is inevitable that the Treasury will have to borrow from institutions such as the BRICS Bank, IMF, and World Bank to insulate itself. It will need those funds to create a stimulus for municipalities and state-owned enterprises. But without the requisite skills of the personnel in the state, utilizing the resources, all that will go into the doldrums, and that cannot be allowed. That is why, as PPF, we say we're planning back to the community, we're planning back to the agenda of progressiveness of the ANC-led government. We have got lawyers in PPF, we have got engineers in PPF who can actually play a positive role of reimagining a new norm, of ensuring that in the boards, because a board is not like an employment. You are just planning your trade, your skills, your expertise there. And that is what is required. So when we partner up with government, we are saying, because the ANC, of course, recognizes PPF, we are saying, utilize the skills that are readily available. We're not asking for jobs, but we're asking that, okay, government, where you have got challenges, look no further. PPF, it's here, we can work together because you cannot provide the services on your own. Again, we believe that professionals, and especially people who are working in the state, have got to think differently now. You cannot keep on using the MFMA and PMFA the way they've been used, because the situation is completely different. I've seen that, okay, at national level, there are addendums which are being used from time to time to ensure that, okay, the situation is expedited and then the situation, the people are insulated from the pandemic. So having said that, let us look at, because about 3 million people are going to lose their jobs. And in terms of the projections, more than 700,000 of those are professionals. And these professionals can actually play a significant role in ensuring that they assist the state in dealing with the situation we're confronted with. In conclusion, let me check something. Okay, the damage of the pandemic on the medical sector remains to be seen. The pandemic is placing severe pressure on everybody, on the resources. It also exposes the shortcomings of the healthcare system. The hole was already there, but before we had the pandemic, everything was covered up. The pandemic had been able to actually expose the weaknesses. When we take everything into context, the technology, okay, sorry. When taken into context of other technology-enabled remote activities, such as online study, the same investment in connectivity and technology can be used to improve services such as telemedicine and centralized online patient management system. One thing that needs to happen when we're focusing on the new norm is that there must be an outcome-based solution. The approach that instead of measuring the productivity of the person based on his attendance or being in office or at work, doesn't work anymore. But we must be able to say, when you are doing whatever you're doing, being at home, what are the outcomes? So we're looking at that. And then professionals can play a significant role in assisting the state insofar as that is concerned. Thanks very much. And then there are quite a number of issues that we can deal with, but time does not allow us. Thanks very much. The anchor.
Thank you very much, Prapet, Mr. Baloyi. Ladies and gentlemen, I did say that Mr. Pet Baloyi has the wide background in the world of academy, and that he's a social activist. So you could hear from his presentation that if time allowed, he would have given us even more information. He spoke of pertinent issues. He spoke of inequality and currently, and the anticipated gap of inequality post-COVID-19, and as we go through this pandemic. He spoke of the skills human capital. He spoke of the skills shortage as a major challenge in our society. He also spoke of the consequences of the growing financial crisis and how we can mitigate it. So I'm sure that when we discuss, those are some of the areas that we can talk about, but he spoke about many areas which I am not going to repeat. So, but into a right, so I don't want to spoil his input or his presentation. So now I am going to allow for discussions. Any discussions, comments, or adding, just to put some spices and salt and on the presentation. Can I allow panelists? I'm going to give, let me see, 10 minutes. 10 minutes to discuss the presentation. Doc, are we okay with 10 minutes? I hope the technical team will allow us maybe to go until 12:30.
I will leave it up to you as a speaker. I think we surely won't be able to finish in 1 hour. So just use your judgment.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we then discuss and comments on the presentation by the chairperson of the PPF of Greater Johannesburg? It was a very comprehensive presentation indeed. I'm not sure if I can see hands. Let me check if I'm able to. Okay, yes. Can you please raise your hands? No comments. No comments? Okay, Sipho, do you have any comments from our viewers yet?
Madam, I was hoping that we allow Councillor Mayor Sandy Non-Danger to start. And then I would read the comments halfway, perhaps, Madam, if you can allow that.
Okay, no, it's fine. I thought maybe there will be comments on the presentation, but in the absence of hands, I am going to allow Councillor Nontenja, the chairperson of MPEC, to give a brief overview on the annual report and also aligning together the issue of skills that Prapet has also spoken about, the skills mismatch and the comments on the Auditor General. Councillor Nontenja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Greeting to everyone. Let me start by saying the Municipal Public Accounts Committee is the apex legislative body for financial scrutiny, facilitating transparency in government financial operations.
Mama Nontenja?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a little bit. I will be doing a big mistake if I don't acknowledge the presence of the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Councillor Jeff Makubu. Mr. Mayor, you are most welcome. We are discussing with the PPF here on this platform. Thank you very much for attending. Okay.
Thank you, pleasure. Thanks for I'm late, but I thought I'll join in. Thank you.
Oh, you are not late. Okay, Councillor Nontenja, sorry for interruption.
Not a problem, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much. What I was saying is that the Municipal Public Account Committee is the apex legislative body for financial scrutiny, facilitating transparency in government financial operations through the scrutiny of annual reports. MPEC analyzes the financial performance and non-financial performance and the audit outcomes of a city, focusing on non-compliance and compliance with the legislation, whether expenditure on the executive is in line with the budget as approved by the legislature and the value for money. Madam Speaker, let me say, MPEC, considering the wide-ranging and challenging work of MPEC, it is critical that professionals are co-opted. First is to utilize the specialized skills and expertise of professionals to assist with the analysis of reports and aspects of managing the city. And secondly, for professionals to appropriately equip councillors through training to undertake effective oversight. I would cite professionals like Yosik Faro and others. Each year, MPEC identifies stakeholders, engagement events, and trainings. Unfortunately, we are not lucky as MPEC as to get the stakeholders, especially the professionals, to come and make inputs on the analysis of the financial report of the AG. Considering the fact that year in and year out, we have almost the same repeat findings. So when we invite the stakeholders, especially the professionals, we would like them to come with the advice to say, how do we work out? How do we improve? How do we achieve our goal of one day realizing a clean audit as the city of Johannesburg? This year, MPEC decided to host a roundtable on the annual report with the stakeholders, co-opting expert analysis and stakeholders' views on the performance of the city. From the roundtable, three main messages were provided by stakeholders. One is the city needs to ensure that it has appropriate skills to improve performance. Number two is working with the stakeholders can allow the city to access critical skills. And the last one is for the city economy to grow. There needs to be closer cooperation between the private sector and the government. That's where we need the professionals to come in and really assist. We really need to work together, not to work in isolation where the professionals are working alone there and they would come and complain at the end that the city is not doing 1, 2, 3 for them. Whereas if we were working as a team and they were coming with their expertise to beef up the city where there are gaps and shortcomings, we would be seeing a difference. From the stakeholders that we had at the round table on this year, the Association of Public Accounts Committee urged government at all levels to strategically address the shortage of critical skills without bloating the workforce. The Public Affairs Research Institute emphasized in the importance of evidence-based policy, including the use of social audits to assess government performance. SALGA, on the one hand, offers assistance to the city by providing skills that may be missing by soliciting help from private firms. The Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry argued for closer cooperation between the city and the private sector to activate economic growth. The Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association asked for coordination between the city and itself to revitalize the inner city. So all in all, what the previous speaker has alluded to is true, and it's something that's been raised by various stakeholders, including the AG's office. In the city, we are having a problem at the moment where there seems to be a skills mismatch because we have so many vacancies that are outstanding, which end up landing on the acting. And when there is acting, you will find that it's so difficult for the city manager to hold the people who are acting accounting. So we do need the skills, we do need to work with the professionals. For now, I will hold it there, Madam Speaker. I will continue at a later stage. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Chairperson of MPEC, Councillor Thandino Ntenja. You have raised very important issues, especially partnership with the professionals and the participation. Can we please mute? Somebody has not muted. Thank you very much. You have raised very pertinent issues and very important issues, particularly the partnership with professionals of the city of Johannesburg in making sure that the city is going to the next level. And the partnership of professionals as stakeholders in municipal municipal affairs, especially in MPEC, because in MPEC meetings, stakeholders are allowed to come, and also stakeholders are allowed to make comments in making sure that the city is going to the right direction. So professionals, PPF, this is a call from the chairperson of MPEC for you to become active stakeholders in the affairs of the city in making sure that the city complies with the requirements of the Auditor General, and the skills that you possess are the skills that the city needs. So we really need your partnership. Without spoiling these important presentations, let me call upon the chairperson of EISD, who is also the Deputy Secretary General of PPF, Councillor Matsidiso Mfikwe, who will talk about towards the professionalization of the public service. Having listened to presentation from Brapet and also the presentation from Councillor Nontenja, how do we then, Councillor Mfikwe, make sure that we professionalize the public service and we deal with the skills mismatch that we might find ourselves in, and also the issues that have been raised on the annual report by the Auditor General? How do we then work towards professionalizing the public service? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me acknowledge in the discussion the Executive Mayor, Councillor Makubo. We are also joined, Madam Speaker, by the President of PPF, Kashif Wikom. So you see you are national. So the program is flying. We have Comrade Nomcebo Chabalala, Comrade Nachi and Comrade Sten are also part of the national leadership of PPF. So they are acknowledged. We have leadership of the PPF in Gauteng, led by Comrade Sasabana Mangani. And let me acknowledge the regional leadership as well, led by the regional chair. Madam Speaker, we're discussing an important topic that might need engagement, constant engagement with the PPF, maybe not just through this program, but also through constant engagement, so that they are able to assist the city in responding to some of the challenges that Councillor Nontenja was referring to. Local government, Madam Speaker, is a sphere that is closest to communities, and it demands a particular professionalism for us to be able to deal with issues that are there. And those would have also preconditions, which will include an increased emphasis on improved client focus, using new technologies, ensuring that there is value for money in the provision of services, as well as very clear and explicit reporting of the outcomes that the municipality would have set for themselves. In a way of addressing this situation would be through the design as well as of implementation of the actual monitoring system, including having an evaluation system. That's something that I feel that in most of the times we don't come back and evaluate the systems that we have put in place. And those systems should actually even assist us in assessing individuals' performance, including the actual institutional support. The regional chair spoke earlier that the city has the 2030 strategy. How do we assess the strategy vis-a-vis the capacity that municipalities have? You know, in 2013 or so, the government developed a turnaround strategy called LGTAS, Local Government Turnaround Strategy. That had particular objectives. Then we saw as well the NDP that was approved so that it gives local government the necessary standing and support to be able to ensure that they play local government's role as dictated by the Constitution is being implemented. In our context, Madam Speaker, professionalism will talk to understanding and appreciating the following. One is that there should be corporate commitment and ethical behavior. There should be proper communication and including building and ensuring that there is teamwork, creating or developing of initiatives, and as well as ensuring that the system or the institution adapt to situations that the system finds itself in. You know, developing clear outcomes and tracking results of those outcomes. Then it's important that the municipality or local government all the time make sure that there is proper knowledge giving or knowledge sharing, including the development of skills. It is also critical for professionals in local government, Madam Speaker, to make sure that they adhere to a set code of conduct. You know, that will tell us how to behave, how to conduct our work, how to treat even our own clients, including our own different stakeholders, including employees that we have. An institution must have a performance management system that would go with constant coaching constant monitoring, mentoring, and constant training and development as well, so that there is dynamism in the field of local government. Our professionals must be able to manage and resolve grievances, Madam Speaker, including being in a position to resolve workplace conflicts. Most of the time, this hangs for years. That is why you'll see people being suspended for a long period of time, grievances not being concluded, people being suspended, sitting at home, earning lots of money, and because the system does not have a proper grievance monitoring system. This would ensure that our professionals are capable and have competencies to make sure that the services that need to be given by the municipalities are being done. We believe that professional management of local government can and should be improved. Local government has minimum competencies that they would need, that was dictated by national government from local government. That seeks to professionalize the sector, Madam Speaker, in ensuring that the sector becomes a career of choice, and people stay. You would employ people, they would train, they would be cooked in the municipalities, then they will be grabbed by private business, because we have not created an area or a situation where they will be sitting there and ensuring that they stay the course and ensure that the municipalities function properly. We must know that there are manifestations as well if we don't manage ourselves properly on other governance levels, because if as professionals in the local government sector, we don't perform as dictated by the Act and we are properly qualified to do the work that we do, that will have an upward movement implication for national government, including provincial governments as well. My two last points, Madam Speaker, is that we must be aware that given a dynamic local government professionalism, that will have two things that will have an impact on, that administratively there should be modernization, as well as citizen engagement is important. As professionals, you can't come to work, they are supposed to knock off at 4, then you feel that at 3 you want to go, and people are sitting there to offer a service. So for us to be able to make sure that our work is not compromised, we must make sure that we work between efficiency, effectiveness, and user satisfaction. So the key to making sure that professionalization in local governments, Madam Speaker, is being able to bridge these gaps, between being effective, being efficient, and ensuring that we do promote user satisfaction from time to time. So the reality is that these gaps must be, and as well necessitates that a process of constant professionalization of the sector, including engaging elements like the PPF, including working with SALGA, so that as and when there is competency recognized and noted, training, mentoring, as well as coaching happens in our sector. That way, we are able to breed a professional that is able to adhere to the competencies, including helping municipalities to offer the services that they need to offer for their constituencies. Can I leave it at that, Madam Speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mfikwe. Thank you so much. You spoke about important things. I think one of them is to use performance management system we have in government in professionalizing the institution. How do we professionalize the institution through the PMS that we are currently having? How do we use that tool to better the ethical behavior of our professionals? And you spoke about also government being the training ground. I think that is very important for me, because government, you get professionals and you upskill, they get upskilled in how to ethically behave or work, and they get grabbed by the private sector. How do we then retain these skills as the public service? And also the monitoring of the grievance monitoring system that you spoke about. But what is important, professionalizing public service. I think it is key for us to realize proper service delivery issues. On that note, I am going to give to the panelists for comments on the three presentations. We had a presentation from Mr. Pat Baloyi, the presentation from Councillor Nontenja, and the presentation from Councillor Matsidiso Mfikwe. Comments: how do we professionalize the public sector? And how do we retain skills? How do we make sure that we have the right skills at the right place at the right time? And how do we partner with the professionals in the work we do as government? Any hands, any takers? I'm going to point people. Komuzo, let me start with you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You caught me off guard there, but what I can say is the presentation was thoroughly researched, and that's what most of us professionals were looking out to can hear from the panelist. Another thing that we might try to get into this conversation could possibly be the SMMEs, because remember in PPF we have academics and then we have business people, etc. So the business side of things, mostly small businesses are crying all around Johannesburg. What is it that government can do to help and assist the small business that are now in the situation that the COVID-19, they are suffering from not being able to can move around because traffic is stopped because of the lockdown regulations?
Thank you very much, Komuzo, for your comments. Yeah, I think you are actually alluding to the point that was also made by Ubra Pat Baloyi, who spoke about the current challenges with COVID-19 and also post-COVID-19, which includes the SMMEs and the skills, and the skilled human capital that he spoke about. Kashif.
Good afternoon, and thank you for an exceptional presentation. I've got 3 points to make, facilitator, Madam Chair. I think one, we of course are hearing with sadness today with the demise of our stalwart Bab Malangeni. But I think we must learn from our stalwarts and our struggle veterans about unselfishly contributing towards our country and our people. And here I want to make 2 points to speak to 2 people. One are the public reps which serve us and the civil servants, and them serving our nation with complete regard for what they've been appointed to do. And secondly, I think we must speak about those South Africans who don't pay their rates and electricity on time. It's a simple task, it's a simple obligation, which we request of all South Africans. On the issue around which I think our DSG has raised around monitoring, I think, Chairperson, there must be monitoring with consequences. It is senseless that we have a KPIs for a councillor or a public servant like in the private sector, but there's no consequence management if that doesn't happen. Then I think also I want to emphasize the PPF nationally, provincially, and regionally avail ourselves, our skills and our expertise to what we say, assisting the state in achieving its objectives and communities in realizing their dreams. When it comes to local government, the dreams of the community is to have basic service delivery on time and within budget. The duty of the community is to pay for those services. The duty of the councillors and our public officials is to provide that service within budget. And to, let's be frank, councillors, that the corruption which appears to be endemic within our public service today must be eradicated, and that is the consequence management that we as the PPF want and demand of our elected leaders, because we know the majority of our elected leaders serve our country and nation with distinction and with complete morals and complete values. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kashif. Consequence management. dealing with corruption. Thank you so much. Stan Itzeketseng, National Leadership of
No,
PPF.
thanks, Madam Speaker. Ma'am, I thought, Madam Speaker, I should contribute my half cents worth on this important contribution of the rules of professionals. Firstly, it is that for us to have a national democratic government, in order to achieve a national democratic society, we need to have professionals to assist us in running government itself, because especially within municipalities where you are at the core phase of service delivery, we can't be involved in what we call comical things that are happening generally in municipalities. Let me give you a disappointing example. There's been a WhatsApp or Facebook posting that is doing the rounds, where, for one reason or the other, some of our professionals were employed into the municipality, who then got to be terminated because the public participation, so to say, that they don't meet the necessary requirements. It could be true, but if we're running a professional government, which is run by professional people, such comical errors would never see the setting of the sun in the city of Johannesburg, which is the flagship of municipalities around the continent itself. You see, the issue of us relying squarely on professional is not only at advisory capacity, cannot only be at employment capacity, but it's also at the helm of its own political running itself. I mean, I'm in the municipality for the first time as an employee. I've always been in the private sector. It decides our future is very detailed and informative. Now, reports are given one hour, the first quarter reports, that includes the reports from government. And these things don't want a person who, like me, can only raise to a mandla all the time. It needs people who think, it needs people who are able to process things, it means people that are able to see through and be able to anticipate the hiccups that we're going to do on a continuous basis. So the dependence on professionals toward an efficient running government entity can be emphasized more. The other thing is, you know, just generally, the fact that thought leadership or important people who could lead us somewhere else are outside government and we are leading them is sometimes a bit worrying, because even within amongst ourselves, as we deploy people, I'm not sure whether at deployment rate we sit down with professional organizations, your BMF, your BPC, even BUSA for that matter, and say to them, where are your best brains that could assist us when we deploy and set people up to be in the chairpersons of the respective boards of the respective entities that we're doing. When these things come, it is normally about our friends, families, chomies, and so forth. You know, sometimes it is very disappointing when you look at the composition of the boards that we're having. We need to be honest before ourselves, and we need to be able to take the governance of the city of Johannesburg better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Icheketseng. Mr. Icheketseng, professionalization of public service. That's key in the discussions. Sneja Vladimir. Sneja, your hand, I see your hand.
Yes, my hand is up, Speaker.
Yes, you can speak.
I just wanted to raised the issue that when the governing party came into governing for the first time, we developed a document called Ready to Govern. And the question that I want to ask is linked to what Brasten has said, to say, what is the view of the Progressive Professionals Forum around the current deployment policy that the leading party has in governance? Is it working? Is it not working? Because what we have seen over the past is that we have been deploying people who lack ethics, and that is why we see skyrocketing levels of maladministration and incompetence, including corruption at various levels of governance. So what is the view of the Progressive Professionals Forum around the view of the deployment policy? Thanks.
Thank you very much. That was more of a question. I guess when Brapet comes back, he will try to respond on that question on the view of the PPF. Nati Mtetwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and greetings. I see our mayor is also a part of the session, and all the leadership of PPF as well, and the other councillors who have joined us. I wanted just to raise 3 things from our side as PPF. You see, if you look at our constitution, chapter 10, it deals with the kind of public administration we want to have in our country. Critical in that chapter, it talks about a high standard of professional ethics. It talks about responding to people's needs. Then the question is, do we have professionals who have the level of consciousness to understand these things? That's what we need to answer. We can have a lot of plans, a lot of strategies, and everything else. But what is key is implementation. You see, if we were to look at where we come from Ready to Govern, the RDP policy, up to the National Development Plan, if we had implemented each and every strategy and plan that we developed, South Africa would be a different place today, because there's nothing wrong with the strategy, the policy, the plans of our country, of our provinces, of our municipalities. What becomes fundamental is to have the agility to implement those plans. For example, if I'm a professional, I delay decision-making. Do I understand what would be the impact of that delay in various communities, in Alexandra, in Orange Farm, in Soweto? So what becomes fundamental is what our president was saying. We need to have professionals who understand that you are there not only for your technical skills, but you are there as a calling to serve the people. And serving the people, it means that you must be part and parcel and be embedded in communities in the way you do things and in the way you think. So critical thinking becomes fundamental at this level. So what I want to drive at, we need to get to a point of implementation. We need to implement. Politicians will set the agenda, will set the tone. I must be able to use my technical skill to translate that political agenda into implementable milestone that I can measure at the end of the year, that I've been able to achieve A, B, C, D, and this is the impact that I have made in the communities. So we need to really rethink what do we mean by having professionals who have a certain degree of consciousness in working in the public service, because as I'm saying, Madam Speaker, it is beyond technical ability. It's also about the calling and be able to say, I'm here to serve the people. And if I delay things, if I don't spend the budget allocated to me, what is the impact of that action? Thank you so much, Speaker.
Oh, Nati, you know, you have said mouthful. I wish we can have you in some of the workshops. I think in the presence of Mr. Mayor, he knows how frustrating it is to come or to set up the agenda as the political leadership, and the implementation becomes very slow. And you find that even the budget that has been allocated is not used up until towards or at the end of the financial year. So calling, I think calling to serve the people, calling to serve the citizens, it's the key message that I am taking from yourself. Thank you very much for that, for that input. Abraham Luruli. And we'll also have some comments from our executive mayor once towards the end of the program.
Madam Speaker, before you give Abraham, he's actually sending me a message area. You don't recognize me. Abraham is the national chair of the PPF, Madam Speaker.
Oh my God! I just see Abraham Luruli. I must have a list. I must have a list of the leadership of the PPF from national to the region, so that I properly recognize the leadership. Chairperson, you are most welcome. Thank you very much for joining.
I recognize you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, and thank you, Councillor Mfikwe, for. I don't want to be in conflict with PPF. We need partnership with the professionals as a city. Would you want to make comments, Chair?
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. No, at this stage, I don't want to make any comment, just to acknowledge that being part of the engagement here really assists us as the PPF to be able to forge more relationships with the city. And the comments that the colleagues from the PPF actually made, Honorable Speaker, are in line with our view in terms of how we want to see our relationship moving forward. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abraham. Dr. Faith Tobaki, you did indicate that you are representing Prof as well. So I'm not sure if you would want to have a bite on the discussion.
Thank you very much, Chair. I don't have any contribution to make at the moment.
Okay.
All that I had is has been covered by the leadership of PPF, of which I form a part as the chair of West Rand PPF.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I give Dr. Nyati and Brapet and the executive mayor, before we do the final comments, let me hand over to Sipho Masiko just to go through the comments from our viewers. As I have indicated that we are live streaming from different social media platforms. Do we have any comments, inputs, questions, Masiko?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much to everybody who presented very, very insightful information and input. From social media, we live on Facebook, on the City of Johannesburg, on your platform, Madam Speaker, and on Twitter and YouTube. So comments coming through. Elias says, good afternoon, Madam Speaker and the panel. The issue that is affecting most municipalities more, especially here in Johannesburg and Gauteng, is urbanization. The government needs to come up with a plan on how to deal with the problem. A, housing, B, jobs, C, transport, and improving the infrastructure. The people are burning government properties infrastructure rather than the toy. How can we teach people that the very same infrastructure they are burning belongs to society? Nonjebo Sikaze says, we are here to listen. Kalamazu says, but the focus should not only be on councillors. People got very high and impossible expectations on councillors. They seem not to understand that councillors are not official. Mayor Mulauzi says, good afternoon, Silapa, we are listening. Elias says, every time when the Auditor General gives the report, there's always irregularity, but there is nothing that has been done to make sure that it doesn't happen again. but why, Madam Speaker? And the rest of the comments, people are agreeing with presentations that have been made by Mr. Kashif, Comrade Stan, as well as Mamtandi. Here's another comment here from Tamzeli Tunjana. He says, the alliance between the professionals and the city should not be a thing of monopoly, but that which should be of common interest. The city should be in its books, have audit skills as to realize what human capital is of essence. But if the city does not have qualified personnel, the relying on external expertise will cause problems in our financial situation. Zola Manake says, what role is the city playing in making sure that businesses who get COVID-19 relief is passed to workers? With the peak of the pandemic, what is the city strategy in combating the spread of coronavirus? Are there any measures in place to combat and avert corruption in the procurement of PPEs and related services? Madam Speaker, I think I'm going to leave it there, but generally, people are very excited and happy to have this conversation and just to listen to the presentations on how we can effectively make government better. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Sipho. Thank you so much. Brapet. Please unmute Brapet and also maybe touch on the comments from our viewers as well.
Okay, no, thanks very much, Madam Speaker. Let me appreciate my colleagues from PPF, starting from the President, the Chair, Comrade Nati, the provincial leadership as well, for actually participating in this August session, because it's about taking forward our position as a PPF of ensuring that as professionals, we're able to ensure that we plow back to the state. The most important thing that I wanted to go to, it's in relation to deployment policy that was raised by Snyder, our view on deployment policy. The ANC has got the deployment policy, cadre deployment policy, which is not a bad thing at all, if I may put it that way. The question that needs to be raised is, who is a cadre? Because a cadre is somebody who's trained properly to fulfill a particular mandate. It will be foolhardy of all of us to believe that you go to the elections, you have got a manifesto, and then after getting into government, you don't actually line up people with requisite skills to ensure that they implement that which you want to achieve. For instance, in the city, there is what is called GDS 2040. If you have people who cannot see beyond 2020, how do you expect to meet that target of 2040? Because the foundation starts now, and it means having the requisite skills, the right personnel, people who are deployed properly, so that skills are not misplaced. People who do not have skills can be trained to do certain things, but you cannot drive a ship that you don't understand a thing about, because that will lead to bad governance. When you bring in professionals with requisite skills, that will mean you have good governance. And what is good governance? It means focusing on the organization's purpose and on outcomes for citizens and service users. It means performing effectively in clearly defined functions and roles. It means being clear about the responsibilities of who does what, when, and how. Because it's a shame that money is returned to Treasury because somebody could not actually implement when there are needs on the ground, on the basis that somebody doesn't know how to utilize the money. Look at what is happening in other provinces. To give an example, we are dealing with a pandemic. Monies have been put aside to assist, and people are found with their hands in a cookie jar. That cannot be correct. It means the organization, the African National Congress here, which we want to partner fully with, is dropping the ball and is letting everybody down, including us, the professionals here. So good governance means being clear about our relationships as the government and the public. Comrade Sida has mentioned something very, very instructive. You can put as much as you want wherever, but if you don't actually review, monitor how what is used, you are wasting your time. It doesn't help. And then Comrade Nati mentioned something very, very important here, which I agree fully with. Implementation and implementation and implementation. GDS is a strategy. How do we get there? Do we have the right cadres to drive that strategy, to make sure that we implement as much as possible? We're brutal in the way we move. We deal with corruption, and so on and so forth. The last part, it came from someone who spoke about urbanization, housing, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. This calls to core governance of the Chapter 3 of our Constitution. The priorities, because if we don't deal with rural development, ensuring that we take a deliberate position as the ANC to say we're developing those areas which are left behind, people will always find some pulling factors to run to the urban areas to say, no, this ANC government in Joburg, if I arrive in Diepsloot, for instance, has not done anything for me. You build houses there, and then it will be a revolving wheel. You won't be able to actually do what you're supposed to be doing. Insofar as, again, quickly, insofar as a deployment policy, what I want to say is, let us actually check the type of skills that we have. We audit that. Bring in professionals to ensure not that this becomes an elitist program. People who understand the agenda of the African National Congress, but at the same time, they know the technical, know the skills to implement that. Because if you don't have that, you might sloganeer as much as you want until the cows come home. On a daily basis, you'll get what is called qualified reports from the Auditor General. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for those responses, Brapet. Councillor Nontenja, any takes on the comments? Chairperson Nontenja.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the speakers, the professionals, about coming with these inputs, and hope that when we invite them in future, I hope that we are now, from now going forward, MPEC will build a working relationship with them, whereby all these inputs will make an impact, and the changes on the reports that we are getting, especially the repeat findings that we keep on finding from the AG's report. And to say, maybe to Mr. Natim Tetwa, he said something about the implementation. I wonder if that has anything to do with the skills that's lacking or the professionalism that is lacking. And I wonder what would be the suggestion on their side for us as the city to address some of the issues that we are facing. And to say maybe we shouldn't look at all these things with a negative eye, to say while we are having the problem of COVID-19, where the revenue for the city has decreased, it is much more complicated to now do the service delivery as we are risking the lives of the employees. But on the other hand, it says to us, COVID-19 also provides an opportunity for government, the private sector, and the civil society to work closer together. We must now start looking at our country as our country, not working in silos. We have to start coming together. Let's use this COVID-19 to come together and start building something stronger. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nontenja. Working relationship. I'm hoping that the chairperson of the PPF today will have contact numbers, will exchange contact numbers with the chairperson of MPEC. So as the chairperson of MPEC as well, this is the beginning of a relationship that we need and we've been longing for a very long time. Councillor Mfikwe? Councillor Mfikwe?
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Maybe to also comment that one of the comments that Sipho had was about the focus not being on councillors only, which is true. A municipality is made by the administrative and the political leadership that we would have in that particular municipality. So it is important for the two administrative and the political leaders to find each other. The politicians will set up the strategy, helped by the administrators. So the administrators must actually understand that the strategy is to guide the implementations of programs that they would have to derive out of that strategy. So it is important for us to find and be able to balance that relationship as well. Administrators as well being implementers, it's important for them to be evaluated, it's important for them to be assessed, it's important for them to be mentored and coaching. In most of the time, Madam Speaker, you find that people are employed, the performance is put, but the mentoring, the coaching, including the assessment, happens very laxly. You know, so it's important for us to be able to balance the two so that when the administrators are implementing whatever needs to be implemented, the councillors are able to understand and appreciate the work that they do. That way, the two sectors or the two legs of local government would be able to give a proper feedback to their communities or to the clients that they serve. So for me, that is the first one, and it is very important. It's an important conjuncture that we need to pull together. Most of the time, it's not pulled together, so it becomes a bit of a challenge. Secondly, Madam Speaker, as professionals in the sector, it is important that we understand that existing or the existence of the institution is purely to implement programs that assist government to create a better life to communities. Either it's about providing the very services, including what Kumuto was talking about, empowering of the business sector. You know, through our procurement processes, we need to be able to say, how do we make sure that businesses that are operating within a particular municipal boundary or servicing or giving as service providers are being assisted in doing business, you know, are being given guidance and support in them being able to assist the municipality in rolling out or implementing some of the programs that they want. So that is another element that we find most of the time is not going well. So we need to bridge that gap as well. So being a professional service provider or a professional public service means that you take into consideration the environment that you're operating on. Your stakeholders are an important part thereof, including your beneficiaries out of the programs that you are actually giving, and building proper relationships between the three sectors or the three stakeholders remains a critical point. My last point is that we're talking about getting into what the president was saying about people paying for services. We can never overemphasize that. We must never forget to always say to our community, services are provided. Municipalities buy water from rainwater, buy electricity from ESCOM. So if people don't pay for those services, in the long run, we'd have a challenge of people having those services. So it is important from time to time to always remind our people, not that we don't understand that people are not employed. The government has processes or programs that are meant to assist communities that are not affording to pay for those services. So communities must take advantage of those programs as well that government has had. So let us talk about that. It's important for us to contribute in ensuring that there is stability in the work that municipalities are doing. Paying services and rates remains a responsibility of the consumer. Also, that when people are disgruntled, they would come out and destroy their own property. They would come and destroy their own infrastructure. That takes us 10 steps backwards, because after you've broken traffic lights, the municipality must come and fix them. At a point, then budgets are not available. So communities must learn how to voice out their issues without taking out anger or frustrations on the infrastructure that is implemented or planted in their own areas for their own benefit as well. Because burning a hole, it's us who are using that hole, digging streets, burning tires on the streets, it's us who are creating our own potholes. Then tomorrow we'll complain and say municipalities are not fixing potholes that we self-created as well. So, and this calls for partnerships, Madam Speaker. This calls for working together as both government and our important stakeholders, which are our citizens. So I think it's relationship building that we need to continuously work at refining and ensuring that we understand where all of us are going, because a development of our township can never be compromised by us being angry, with whatever needs to be happening in our areas as well. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, TSG. Thank you very much. There's one thing that COVID-19 has brought to our attention, as bad as it is, but the need for working together. I think Councillor Nontenja raised it more than once, that working together is imperative. It is at the center now more than ever before. So COVID-19 is forcing us to work together to take off our political affiliations, caps, or our t-shirts, because it doesn't matter what color of a t-shirt do you wear, but the citizens out there are looking upon all of us as a collective to assist and to work together with them. So I am really very delighted of the inputs that have been made this evening, and especially the comments as well from our viewers. The topic is about the effect of COVID-19 on professionals. That was the topic for today, but the topic has actually elaborated on more things or subtopics. It spoke about professionalization of the public service. It spoke about the role of government in empowering the SMMEs. It spoke about the skills that are needed to professionalize the public sector. So this is about civic education, Mr. Mayor. And these programs, I think for me, they are very important, because this is a platform where we talk with our citizens. It is civic education where we learn and we teach each other. And there was a comment that was talking about the banning or destroying infrastructure when we are angry. I think Councillor Mfikwe has also responded to that and spoke to that to say to our communities, it doesn't matter how angry you are, but you don't have to destroy what we have already gained or what we have already achieved as a nation, as a society. We have to preserve and protect what we have already achieved. But the message to the professionals, especially in the public sector, is that let us treat our work as a calling. Mr. Mayor, as we are about to close, I would really request your good self as the #1 citizen of Johannesburg. These are your professionals. These are your people who are on this platform today. These are your people who are listening the live streaming that we are and the discussion that we are about today. So I would really request you, Mr. Mayor, and also say that we are honored to have your presence here. Just for you to wrap up, Dr. Nyati is also here, who is our every Wednesday partner on this platform. He is taking a back seat today. He said, no, he just wants the city to have a conversation with the professionals. He's a professional himself, but he said he will just be listening. And he sent me a message to say he is so excited to have your presence here, Mr. Mayor. If you could just round up the discussions. I know that you entered a little bit late, but I'm sure that you did catch up.
We can't hear you, Speaker.
Eh?
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Or now we can hear you. Yeah.
You can't hear me. I've been talking alone. Can you hear me now?
No, we could hear you.
Yes,
We could hear you, Madam Speaker.
You could hear me. Okay.
Maybe it's him who
All
had
right.
an issue.
We couldn't hear you earlier, but now we can.
Okay, I'm now handing over to the #1 citizen of the city, Mr. Mayor, to round up. I'm sure he did catch up with the conversations. He did not come very late, but he has heard the conversations. I was saying the professionals of the city of Johannesburg are here today, and the viewers and people who are following our discussions, they would really love to hear from the executive mayor. Over to you, Mr. Mayor, just to wrap up and round up the conversation, and maybe a way forward on the topic professionalization of the public service and the effect of COVID-19 on professionals. Thank you very much. Is the mayor? I see he's present. Mr. Mayor? Okay.
I trust him to be techno-safe. I hope
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's the connection. He was in a meeting during the day and he was struggling with connection. I was in the meeting with him earlier before this meeting. Dr. Nyati, maybe let me give this opportunity to you.
Okay.
If the mayor is connected, he will indicate.
All right, Speaker, thank you very much. I really didn't want to say anything today, but I think for me, as a professional, there's somebody who talked here about the need for people to have the attitude of serving others. For me, that's the biggest thing because, we're talking about municipal services here, services at the level of government that's closest to the people. Now, with the budgets that have dwindled for reasons of COVID and other reasons, it is important that we optimize what is already there. And that means the resources, human and other resources that have been deployed by the municipality for the benefit of the citizens of the city. We need to get more out of that. And so the issue of professionalizing, the public service at this level, it's important that, everybody who is delivering services at this level understand that they have a duty and they're not doing a favor to the citizens when the citizens require that service. Many a times one goes to, get services, water, electricity, pay bills or queries around accounts and whatever, and you find that the professionals who are already there, they have got an attitude that maybe you are bothering them, yet they are supposed to be going an extra mile. So I'm basically saying during this time of COVID, we all need to change our mindset as professionals and actually try and do more with the little that is there. I'm also happy that the municipality is open, to making use of available capacity outside. But even that, when the municipality makes use of that kind of, assistance, it must do so in an ethical manner, in a manner that does not foster corruption. Also, the other issue that I worry about, and obviously we don't know whether there'll be elections next year or not, for local government, but the issue that there tends not to be continuity, with each change of, leadership or change of government, you find that there's no clear succession planning. And so every time there's a new government that comes in, even from the same party, you find that there's a change, in the personnel or the professionals that are driving service delivery. That is actually counterproductive. Administrators, and politicians, yes, they can change, but there must be some continuity, at a level of delivery of services. And so those are just my comments. And I hope that if those things can be done, and yes, the issue of cadre deployment as well, deploy cadres, but please make sure that you deploy them in the right positions where their skills will actually add value. Otherwise, what tends to happen then is that those who work below those people who have been deployed wrongly in terms of the skills, there's a mismatch. They become a stumbling block to those who could be able to add value. So with those words, I'm just saying I'm happy about this discussion. I'm sure there will be follow-up discussions around such matters. But on my side, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. But ungaba ndiyayimosha if ndingafuna utolika what you have just said. Thank you very much. The executive mayor is back on platform now. I will hand over to the executive mayor, #1 citizen of Johannesburg, to do a round off. Mr. Mayor.
Speaker, thank you very much. Let me greet the leadership of PPF, President and the NOBs, the POBs and the ROBs. I greet you, Speaker, the Chairperson of MPEC, the Chairperson of EISD, and all colleagues and professionals who are here. I had hoped, Speaker, that I'll listen because I was interested in the topic. As part of transformation of the state that we, as a leading force of change, as a political party, we've been trying to champion for the last 25 years, talking about capacity of the state and capability of the state. Therefore, when we deal with professionals, are a key cog in trying to address the very issues that I talk about, transformation of the state, how to build a capable state as the NDP talks to, and then the document of our organization talks about the capacity of the state. So these are healthy conversations, and I'm glad that I was part of the conversations and I listened. Professionals need a constant engagement, Speaker, with their government. So therefore, this platform of the PPF engaging with its government, it's very, very welcome. Progressive professionals, they really need to keep the government progressive and not allow it to recede to a reactionary state or reactionary realm. By that, I'm saying that it's up to professionals who are progressive to ensure that the issue that was raised earlier on of corruption does not happen. Corruption happens between the corruptor and the corruptee. And on the one side is business interests, and they call it the crisis of capitalism. On the other, it becomes a government employee, whether it's a politician or a bureaucrat. But on both sides, there are people, and you find professionals on both sides. So what then are we saying is that what we've been seeing coming out of VBS, out of Zondo Commission, the professionals in the accounting fraternity, which is my profession too, that basically are making us hang our head in shame. The lawyers that have been cited in one case or the other, the business people. I think it's something that as a PPF we need to engage and deal with decisively, because on the other side, it's our government leaders, it's our political leaders, and it's our bureaucrats. Now, the concluding statement, Speaker, is that each government during election campaign, they put their proposition to the citizenry in the form of a manifesto, which is a translation of its policies. Now, after the elections, whichever party wins or whichever coalition of parties wins, they translate that into a government policy and a government program. Now, that is translated into an action plan that must be delivered by the bureaucrats. Now, in the city, like all local governments, and I think the DSG of the PPF did raise it with the LG task, there are minimum qualifications and experience for senior managers. They are required to have a certain minimum experience, and I can dare say that these qualify to be called professionals. Now, if they qualify to be called professionals, then the key question is, why are we then failing to do what Councillor Nontenja is saying we must do? Why are we having repeat findings? If these people are CAs, they are ACA, they are engineers, they've got master's degrees. Now, why are we failing municipality to municipality, especially in Joburg? So the challenge for me for the PPF is how do we get their peers and their potential recruitees and members to be at the level that we've been discussing today? And I think it's a role that the organization must focus on. How do we professionalize the state? Because these people are qualified to be called professionals who are bureaucrats. I mean, our city manager's got a DBA, doctorate in business administration. So and as an engineer, he can easily qualify to be a professional, and I think he is a professional. And there's nothing wrong with deploying your cadres as long as they are qualified. In fact, a non-cadre deployed is a problem to attainment of your objective. So rather, you have a qualified cadre to be deployed so that they can translate your policies. But I'm saying that PPF has got a role to play, and its role in the state means that we should not have the problems as they were raised by Councillor Nontenja. But I've made notes of the input, Speaker, and we'll integrate them into the work we do. And when we call on to the local branch of the local region of PPF, we know that they'll respond, and we can work together in taking our city forward and work together with professionals. Professionals, I salute you, and thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you very much to all of you. The inputs have been very, very valuable to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. That was a very powerful round off. Thank you so much. Colleagues, allow me to appreciate your presence here. Firstly, let me appreciate the presence of His Worship, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Jeffrey Makubu. Thank you very much for having joined this discussion and the input and the round off that you have made. Allow me to appreciate the presence of the president of the PPF, Kashif Wycombe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. Kashif, thank you very much for having joined this conversation together with your national leadership, including the DSG, who has given us a very, very important input and very powerful input. To the provincial leadership of PPF, thank you so much. And to the regional leadership of the PPF led by the chairperson, Mr. Pat Malloy, who has also given us very powerful input and the discussion and something that we can take home with and do a follow-up discussion on. Thank you very much with your regional leadership as well. Thank you very much to the chairperson of MPEC, Councillor Nontenja, for the powerful presentation, but most importantly, your call on the working relationship with the professionals in the city of Johannesburg. I hope that your call have been listened to, and we are going to see a different relationship, working relationship from today, during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. Thank you very much to all our participants. If I have to call you by name, I won't finish now, but thank you very much to all the participants who participated on this platform today. I hope this is not the last time we are engaging. Indeed, the topic that we are engaging about it needs a lot of time, and it needs ongoing discussions in professionalizing the public service and making sure that we deliver services to the citizens of Johannesburg. Thank you so much, and thank you very much to Dr. Nyati and your team, your technical team. Thank you very much to the officials who are here today, who have made it possible, and those officials who are not necessarily on the platform, but who are working on the background. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you so much. Appreciated. You have a good evening.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Dr.
Madam
Nyati, Sipo, thank you, leadership.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Go.